This is Matt for Into Boxing, delighted to be joined by 0-1 Frank Smith. Frank, talk me through this sparring session. I thought you were going to add a back to you against Eddie, underdog, add a back to you.
0-1. Did you watch the whole fight?
I mean, I saw what I saw.
Terrible officiating. I think I fractured one of my ribs. I think someone else did it about 3 weeks before, and I think he's just added to it. So I'm retiring. I'm retiring from sparring for a little bit.
You've had a bit of a knock before, I think, in matchroom offices a few years ago. Was it something similar, or?
That was more a bit of fun. This came on where we were sitting there, and Eddie went, "Should we have a little move about for a bit of fitness?" And I went, "Yeah, all right then." I got in there. I thought he was going to take, not my head off, obviously, but my body. So yeah, I've felt better. I think the worrying thing is, I will say, is that I'm a heavyweight, right? I'm not even bridger weight, right? So if I actually turn pro, I'll be the same weight as Eddie, which is worrying.
Well, it were entertaining to watch at least. I mean, you should make it a bit of a matchroom series. I think just chuck a load at crew in and see what happens.
I'm quite happy to give people entertainment, even if I look like a complete idiot. My missus didn't take it very well. She wasn't happy. She was quite embarrassed, especially by the hair and the outfit. She said the clothes look too tight, I look fat, which I am slightly overweight, and the hair was terrible. So
it was the hair that got me, because you got this little, I don't know what, this bit of a pushback going on, and when I saw it in top knot, I thought, oh, you're asking for trouble. As soon as it went in.
You don't like the top knot?
I read it, added a bit to character when you were in the ring. I thought, say something about him.
I wanted to take his mind off what was in front of him and just put that up there, and then he wouldn't know what to do.
Oh, never mind, maybe next time. Anyway, talk to us about San Diego just briefly. I mean, we saw Chocolatito, unbelievable, what a fighter, and we also saw Mauricio Lara. He's still absolutely incredibly dangerous. Talk to me about that trip. It was a really good fight card.
Yeah, look, great performance from Chocolatito. He just showed still the level he is at. He's been around for a long. You forget how long he's been around for. But I was looking. I think he's 34 years old.
I can't believe he's that. I thought he was like 37.
Yeah, so did I. But he's shown there he's still at the top level. Fair play to Martinez, because he took it all and he kept on coming. And he's still got a huge, loads of opportunities ahead of him. But he got beaten by the pound for pound great on Saturday night. And yeah, Lara, as you say, what a finish that was, because round before or early in the round it wasn't looking too good. And then you had Fiera on there, you had Sully Sissoko, was a great fight as well. Actually, that he got put down, puts the other guy down, back and forth. Sky Nicholson, professional debut. Diego Pacheco, brilliant stoppage there from him. Anthony Herrera, great win as well. It was a really good card, top to bottom. So great night in San Diego as well. Had around 7,000 in there. So definitely be going back there as well.
Are we going to see Chocolatito and Estrada? Is that going to get booked back in? Obviously, great performance by Chocolatito. Is that something that's going to come about again once he's ready to go?
Yeah, look, we're working through it now. Chocolatito Estrada is something that the WBC have ordered. The WBA have ordered Estrada against Franco. So we're working through that now. Maybe we're looking as well at Jesse Rodriguez possibly taking on Rungvisai. So yeah, let's see how that plays out over the next few weeks for sort of June, July time.
We need to see that fight again. That fight that I saw between them two the last time out was one of the best fights I've seen. Watching it on the TV, I was going crazy. Wanted to ask you, Sonny Edwards was tweeting Eddie Hearn throughout the fight when there was a question whether Martinez would make the weight, and he says, look, bags are here, have bags, will travel, that kind of stuff. Now that this has been done now, are there going to be any sort of negotiations where we can try and get Sonny Edwards in with Martinez for this fight? You've been calling it for a while.
Yeah, possibly. I'll tell Sonny when I see him. I had to mute him on Twitter the other day because he is relentless. Like literally, it's like constant. It like just takes up my whole timeline. So I think that's a fight we can see. I think Sonny's fighting later this month in Dubai.
He is, yeah.
In sort of mid-March. So I think let's see how he gets on there, and maybe that's a fight we can make in the future. I think Martinez a little bit of time off now and then get back in there.
There's not many people obviously screaming to fight Martinez, and I just think Sonny's been saying this for ages, and I know people do stuff for clout, but he's deadly serious, well, he seems to be anyway. I don't know the guy, but get in contact, let's make the fight happen. And plus, it is a big fight, unification fight. Would that fight, you think, potentially end of this year if everything aligns?
Yeah, possibly. I think Sonny Edwards is a great talent. He's got a massive future ahead of him. So let's see if that can come off. We'll wait and see how that plays out.
Now, I'm just going to ask you, I've not had a chance to speak to Eddie and yourself since the last few weeks been away, but Dillian Whyte, Tyson Fury, finally that's going to happen. Sell out at Wembley. I know obviously Matchroom aren't directly involved with it, so it's not necessarily anything to do with yourselves, but Dillian Whyte spent most of his career with yourselves and guiding him to where he's at. What do you make of the no-show at the press conference from your point of view? Whether it's in the contract or it isn't, what do you make of it when he didn't show up to the press conference?
It's up to him. It's not the first time someone hasn't shown up to a press conference. I think Tyson Fury didn't show up to a Klitschko press conference once, did he? Klitschko had a piece of paper up with his face on. So we people pick and choose the narrative when it suits them. It's not that big of a deal. They sold out the tickets, fair play to them. They sold out the tickets on the basis of a massive all-British heavyweight world title fight, not on the basis of Tyson Fury's homecoming. Tyson Fury's never really sold tickets off his own back. They've sold tickets off the back of this fight. And that's fair play to both of them. It takes both of them to do that. So look, it hasn't affected them. The aim is all he's got to do is turn up to the weigh-in and have a fight on the night.
Do you think, looking at it from the outside, that this is a clever move from Dillian? Because obviously when you get into a press conference with Tyson Fury, he'll talk the ear off you. I'm not saying Dillian won't. We've seen the press conference with him in Chisora. But is this more of a reserve your energy kind of tactic to say, I don't want to engage with that, I'll just turn up for fight week and crack on from there? Do you think that will help him in the long run?
I think he's just focusing on his camp. Dillian's one of those people, it's hard to get in Dillian's head. He's a very strong-minded person. He enjoys all that as well. He enjoys all that side of it. But I think his focus is just fully on training and getting in there and doing a job on fight night. So I don't think he's worried about Fury getting in his head. I think they've been talking for long enough, going back and forth for long enough, and let's just get to fight night.
One of the other heavyweight fights that looks like it's going to be delayed for obviously sensitive reasons in Ukraine, Alexander Usyk, Anthony Joshua, the rematch. A lot of talk. Anthony Joshua has actually responded to one of our tweets today in relation to who we could fight next. There's been Frank Warren, I believe, in an IFL interview, said that he'd make the Joe Joyce Anthony Joshua fight in a heartbeat.
I bet Frank Warren would for Joe Joyce.
Is that a fight in the interim, if Anthony Joshua can't get Usyk within a certain amount of time, that you'd look at and consider? Because it's still that's a huge fight. What do you think?
Look, I think first and foremost, our thoughts are obviously with Usyk, his family,
100%,
everyone affected by it, and it's one of those situations that that is 100 times more or 1,000 times more important than boxing and sport. So first and foremost, we have to say that. In terms of Anthony Joshua and his career, he's always shown he's willing to fight anyone. So I think we have to see how things play out over the coming weeks, and we go from there. There's a lot of ifs, buts. Does this happen? Doesn't that happen? And how long is the delay? And then we can play into what an interim fight looks like. Because an interim fight's very different if you've got Usyk in 3 months after that. So let's see how that plays out, and we'll go from there. There's lots of fights that make sense. If it's a longer delay, maybe there's a different fight that makes sense. So let's go from there. AJ's willing to fight anyone, shown it time and time again. He was 100% focused on the Usyk fight, and believes he can get his belts back.
Yeah, I mean, God willing, things sort themselves out in that part of the world, because what people are going through is way bigger than boxing or anything that we're going to talk about all week. Let's talk about this card. Lee Wood defends his world title in Nottingham against Michael Conlan. It's going to be a banging atmosphere. I believe they've sold out, and Conlan's brought a big crowd with him as well. Talk to me what this means for both fighters.
Yeah, look, huge fight. I'm glad we delivered a massive fight for Lee Wood in Nottingham as well. He's had a tough career, but he's built himself back up. He went in there against Kanzu at fight camp, won that belt, and this has been a long time coming since the purse bid. So glad we could get this on in Nottingham. Michael Conlan as well has built up a great career all the way through to the amateurs. He stayed active, stayed busy, and looking forward to this one. It's a fight that is a real 50-50 fight. I believe, though, Lee Wood does the job.
Is this almost, when you look at both of them, so Michael's got that huge following in Ireland, you feel like if he took a loss now, it wouldn't be as detrimental to Lee Wood. Lee Wood, who's obviously had lost before and he's brought himself back up to this. Do you think it would be a longer road back for him than it would for Conlan, due to obviously he could probably go to Ireland, sell out quite quickly again, or get put on a bigger show. How do you see it, the sort of demographic for who loses? Who's it more important for?
I think more and more in boxing now, if you take real fights, this is a real fight, a 50-50 fight. People respect that, and it's not the end of the road for either fighter. If you take an easy touch and you get beat, it's a bit different. It's a harder road back. But in fights like this, where you're relevant as well and where you've built a profile, I don't think it's as big of a deal as maybe people used to think it was. And I think the UFC model, you see fighters with 10, 11, 12 losses. That's great. Not that's great. So not obviously great for them at the time, but it means real fights, and fans will always come back and watch if you put in great performances. Derek Chisora is a great example. What's he lost? 12, 13 fights?
Yeah, double figures.
But he is still relevant. People still want to watch him. So I think that more and more.
You mentioned that UFC model. Obviously, I think we've just seen Covington and Masvidal, who both have got losses, but they've done a pay-per-view. Is that what we need boxing to get back to? More like, look, almost sod the records from a certain degree, put it on the line, and it shouldn't affect you either way.
Yeah, look, I think when you're building a fighter up at 7, 8, 9 and 0, a loss hurts a bit more. But at this level where you're going in the best against the best, I agree with that. But you even look at like Dillian Whyte fought Anthony Joshua. They were both had, I can't remember how many Dillian had. I think AJ was something like 12 or 13 fights at that point. Dillian was probably similar. Look where he is now. He's now, all these years later, fighting for the world heavyweight title. So you take on the best, you take chances, people respect that, and you'll always have a place, I think.
Final one for me, I want to get your thoughts on Kell Brook. A lot of talks that Amir Khan's going to activate this rematch, and I think I heard Eddie say in an interview that they've already had people reach out and say, would you pay such and such to step aside? Kell Brook, Conor Benn. After Conor, obviously, a fight's been announced today, Chris Van Heerden. If Conor, without looking past him, took care of business, would negotiations for Brook and Conor be something that you'd look at?
Yeah, that could be a fight. I think, if it's true and Amir Khan's invoked his rematch clause, I'm not surprised, to be honest.
Are you surprised? Because you're not surprised because you think someone will pay him to step aside?
No, not that. I'm just not surprised. Say your job, right, is to get in the ring and have a fight, and you've got an opportunity to do it again and get paid a handsome sum of money again. Just because you've, in your mind, you'd be like, I'll go and do it again.
I can't speak for him, but...
But say me. Say I had a bad day at the office, but someone said, go and do it again tomorrow for some more money. You go, all right then.
But a bad day at the office for you might not mean getting knocked out, do you know what I mean?
He's been there, hasn't he? Yeah. He's been knocked out. He's been when he fought Canelo, what was that, 7 years, 6 years, I don't know. And then he fought Crawford. He's been through it all. So it's not like people may say, he may be embarrassed. I can't see how you're in a business where the aim is for one person to knock out the other. It's probably going to happen to you, and he probably has accepted it much more. That right, I've been through that. Why? In my mind, say this was me, and I could go and make another couple of million. Right? I would do it. So, but I know everyone's got different goals. Some people are about legacy. Some people are about money and leaving the game with a load of money. Some people are just about, I'll clean up as much as I can. Everyone's different. I'm not surprised.
But do you think he can change the course of that fight going back after watching the first one?
I always thought Kell would win, even 2-3 years ago. We've seen in boxing anything in that. It's a bit like Tony Bellew against David Haye. Some people question when David Haye took the rematch against Tony Bellew. Yeah. A lot of people are like, he's finished now. Maybe a little bit different. But
the injury, I think it was more viable.
Yeah. But I think anything can happen in this sport, and I think he could go in there and he could have a good day. And I'm not saying he would. I still think Kell Brook wins again, but why wouldn't you if you had that opportunity to do it? Is my view.
No, I agree with that. So him and Conor, Kell and Conor, possible 149 maybe, because obviously I can't see Kell wanting to hit 147. Yeah,
look, I think Conor Benn would do a job on Kell Brook. I don't understand. There's a lot of talk as well about Kell Brook against Chris Eubank Jr. That fight makes a lot of sense for Chris Eubank Jr. Obviously, because he's a much bigger guy. Even if it's at 157, 158, I don't know what weight they're talking about. But for Kell must be looking at it now, saying what fights can I have at actually my natural weight, or even 154. you know. So
Well, I think he said for Eubank, you come see me at 155, but I can't see Chris wanting to go past 160 anyway.
I don't think he could. I don't think he could get. I don't know. Like I've never been on the scales with him myself, but I think. You know, he went up to 168, didn't he, for the World Boxing Super Series and fights around there. He's come back down to 160. I think that's his natural weight. I think he'd struggle to push much lower than that. But what do I know? I'm not a nutritionist. I'm just the guy who sits behind the desk.
You're a boxer, according to last week on YouTube.
I'm 0-1, but I'd do it again.
I bet you would.
I think I'd do some pay-per-view buys, especially with that opponent with that, top knot.
I'd drop £5 for it, 100%.
Appreciate it.
Frank Smith, thanks for talking to Into Boxing, giving us so much of your time again, and we'll catch up later in the week.
Cheers, mate. Good to see you.